Welcome back to OpenLine, talking about the Nashville Film Festival. Starts in 2 nights. One of the busiest people in all of Nashville is here, the artistic director Brian Owens for the film festival. And let's talk about the growth.
Yeah.
It's just really done well, hasn't it?
It's been amazing. Since I joined staff in 2008, leading up to the 2009 festival, and we've more than doubled attendance in that time. In fact, actually, pre-sales, which is the state that we're in right now, right? We all call it pre-sales, anything that's purchased by end of day tomorrow, so the day before the festival starts. Those have doubled just since 2013. So in 3 years, we've doubled our pre-sales. And already, last time I checked before I was able to come up here for the interview, we were 10% and a day ahead of pre-sales over last year. In other words, like if we didn't sell any tickets tomorrow, we'd still be 10% ahead of where we were this time last year. You know, and part of it, I feel like, is we do a good job with this festival. But I mean, also, we're benefiting from the growth of the city. Last year, I could not tell you the number of people who came up to the box office and opened up their order by saying, like, I just moved here from insert city name here, and I'm so glad there's a film festival. So that's a lot of who our new audience is, actually, you know, are those new people that have arrived in town, coming from places like Boston or New York or Los Angeles, where they're used to a film festival being a part of their like almost daily lives if you're in New York and LA. And so yeah, that's something that we're used to, and they love having one here.
We've really grown, and so your vision, or where do you see us, you know, in 10 years? One of the things I love about the current film festival is that it is this community that you described earlier. It's all right there, and other film festivals, I know they're kind of spread out,
right,
and I'm sure that's, you know, great as well. What do you see for us?
You know, we may reach a point in the near future where we do have to start spreading it out a little bit. What I would hope, though, is as we do it, that instead of forcing people to go from Green Hills to East Nashville, or, you know, like trying to run all over town to catch everything, is that we could provide an experience where you could still say, if you're from Green Hills, come to Green Hills, or if you're from the Village, go to the Village, and still have your experience there if you want to. So in other words, if we want to take the festival out, like, you know, I live in Green Hills, so I have a tendency to want to just camp out there when I get home. Right. So I get that. So that may be the thing. So, but we'd want to do it in a way where we wouldn't ask people to have to try to travel all around the city. I mean, especially, you know, hopefully our public transportation keeps growing, but unlike when I go to the Toronto Film Festival, there's not a subway for me to hop onto to get from one place to another. So, you know, if you go see a movie at one part of the city at 3 and need another one at 6, your traffic, you know, might be a little rough. But yeah, we've got some visions where it's going to grow like that. One of the things we're working on actually this year for the first time is we actually have brought in, I believe the final count is 14 different acquisitions and distribution professionals representing studios, HBO, Showtime, CBS Films, Roadside Attractions, Magnolia. They'll all have representatives involved with the Net Festival this year.
Which is great. I mean, because you will see during the course of the year many of these movies on CNN documentary or HBO documentary. The Glenn Campbell documentary was picked up by CNN, and it just won a Peabody, which is a huge award. It's a television award, but today it was just announced it won a Peabody. It was also nominated, I think, for an Oscar. Was it?
I mean, it was nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song.
Yeah, so that's another thing that's going on here.
Yeah.
But overall, the health and growth of film festivals, there was a time there were a lot of them and some weren't thriving. Certainly that's not the situation for Nashville, but what do you see, how are film festivals doing nationally?
You know, it's the established ones are continuing to grow, and there's a few upstarts that are gaining some ground. True False in Columbia, Missouri is only about 9 years old, and they've really become one of the top documentary film festivals in the country. But for about every one that keeps going, another 2 don't even make it to a 3rd year. So to be 47 years old like we are is like a pretty major accomplishment. So, you know, it's hit and miss. And sometimes the upstarts don't have the right vision yet. And as someone who started a film festival in Indianapolis, I was, you know, at ground zero building up a festival from the very beginning, is they will rush to get to the festival it took us 2 years to get off the ground from planning stage to the very first film festival. And I would get advice, like someone seeking me my advice on how to start a film festival. I was like, well, when are you targeting? And they'd be like, 3 weeks from now. And I'm like, no, you're not going to make that happen. And so sometimes the ones that try to do that, like, let's start a film festival in 3 weeks, it's not going to make it. But it's a healthy community. And I do think we're providing something as more stuff is on television at the same time it's in theaters. And more of the stuff in theaters is more and more explosion-oriented. I think we're providing something that's missing for a lot of people who liked going to the movies, but a lot of the movies they liked just aren't making it into theaters anymore.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
You know, as a 40-something, you know, they're really not making, Hollywood's not making movies for me very often. Although I will admit I'm going to go see Captain America Civil War when the festival's over. But I mean, for the most part, the type of movies I like are not always out there. They're harder to reach.
And you said you just went to Toronto. How tough is it? So your job is to get these movies, and I'm sure it's very competitive. You know, so there's some that are at Sundance, and you want some of those. How tough is it to book these things? How competitive? How difficult? Is that one of the hardest things you have to deal with?
It can be, and a lot of it depends on timing. Especially if I go to Sundance and I see something that I like, I hope one of two things for it. I hope it gets bought right away, because if it gets bought right away, then I can work with the studio to try to bring it here. Or, and I hate saying this for the filmmaker's sake, I hope it doesn't get bought at all, because then I can work with the producer. What will happen is there'll be a movie that I'll fall in love with that I'll think is completely appropriate for this festival, and I'll really, really want it, but it'll enter this limbo phase where they're in negotiations with a distributor, and they're not allowed to book the film while they're in those negotiations. So there's always several titles every year where I'm really excited, really want them, but timing circumstances like those end up making it not possible for me to do it.
Talk about Sundance. One, I believe I'm right here, Sing Street.
Yes.
Wasn't that a big one at Sundance?
Yeah, it was a huge hit at Sundance, and I think it's going to be a huge hit here as well.
And we have a trailer for that. And this, when does this play? Sing Street plays when?
It plays on Friday night, the 15th, our second night at 8:15 p.m. And it is an Irish musical set in 1985. It's from John Carney, who's the director that gave us Once, which won an Oscar for Best Original Song, was turned into the amazing stage musical, and then also Begin Again from a couple years ago with Keira Knightley and Adam Levine and Mark Ruffalo. And this is his follow-up. This is his most personal film. Again, it's set in 1985 Dublin, about a guy who wants to form the band to get the girl, only to discover that they actually have a little bit of musical talent.
All right, we're not. Okay, all right, let's go ahead and, we won't look at every trailer. Let's look at that trailer.
Yeah,
let's look at Sing Street. Yeah, let's look at that.
Your mother and I really are under a lot of pressure at the moment.
We had a look at our accounts and
We're taking you out of school.
We're not taking you out of school, we're transferring you. You'll be new then. What's your name?
Connor Lawler.
Shut up! We have a black shoe policy here, Mr. Lawler.
They're brown, they're quite sensible. They're not black. Who knows what this new prison will do for you? This is your time. You see, this is beautiful. How come you're not in school?
I'm a model.
Well, do you want to be in a video for my band?
So if you're in a band, sing me a song.
Take on me.
We need to form a band.
Connor's putting a band together.
oh, good Jesus.
You play every instrument known to mankind.
Probably.
Show 'em.
It's all about the girl, isn't it? What's this? Homework.
Have school in the morning.
This is school. Rock and roll is a risk. You risk being ridiculed.
Jesus, what are you all wearing?
Yeah, we're just working that out.
That's great fun.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Have you kissed her yet?
She's got a boyfriend. Pulled off in his car, music blaring.
What was he listening to?
Genesis.
No woman can truly love a man who listens to Phil Collins.
So hook guy with the car.
It's complicated.
As long as you're happy.
You are truly on a hero's journey. Are you up to that?
I think she's just an amazing human being.
Think big, Connor. End of term disco at the school hall.
I say we ask if we can play there. It's our first gig. It's going to be amazing.
I'll try and come.
You have to come.
Not exactly the Beatles, is it?
I actually love this band.
All right, so that looks great.
Yeah.
And obviously, okay, music, a big part of that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And when we're talking about the Nashville Film Festival, that is obviously important
Sure.
for the film festival. There's different categories, and so of course documentary, but then there's also music documentary.
Yeah, that we call the Music Films Music City competition.
Right. Okay. And so how many are in each one, generally speaking, and kind of let's go over those categories.
Yeah, for the competitions, there's the Bridgestone Narrative competition, and there's 15 films that compete in that. Same with the documentary competitions, 15 feature. Actually, this year there's 16 in that particular category. The music docs, there's 9, and then we have a new directors competition, which is for first-time feature filmmakers, narratives, and that has 10 in the competition this year. They usually right around that number. 9's the target, but this year we liked 10, so we put a 10th one in. And those come from the entries that we talked about, over 5,000, and they make that final cut, and then they're handed off to a jury of professionals. Like, again, we have people representing studios, we have film critics, filmmakers, producers from all across the country, all across the globe. We've got a juror from a company in the UK who distributes documentaries on the documentary jury this year.
That's great.
Yeah, and so they'll watch the movies and they'll select their choice. And then we also have the audience awards in each category, and that's where after you go see the movie on your way out, our volunteers stand there with a fancy new iPad, and you give the movie a 5 or a 1, 1 being bad, 5 being I loved it. And then in each of the categories, the audience also selects a winner, and that's a Southwest Airlines Audience Award. It's a lot of fun.
And that's important too. So we said Monday is a big day because Nissan is buying all the tickets.
Bridgestone.
I'm so
yeah,
sorry.
Nissan sponsors the whole festival.
So sorry. Bridgestone's buying all the tickets.
Yeah.
And then Saturday is a big day because that's when the Audience Award winners come out.
Yeah, on the 23rd, so our second Saturday after we've announced the Audience Award winners, at least 4 of them will come back for one more chance in case you missed them throughout the festival. And actually the whole best of day on that final day is really exciting in that way. The grand jury prize winners, so the jury selections come back, the audience selections come back, and also the ones that have sold out. If contractually I can still do another show, I'll bring those back. So again, Love and Friendship is one where I'm not able to do that, but a few of them I am. We've already added a second screening of the documentary Saving Banksy, which is about the graffiti artist, people may know, and also a movie called Broke, Reprised, which we're bringing back from 5 years ago, that deals with musicians dealing with the new internet age, and literally how much has changed in the 5 years since we first presented the film. And the first screening of that was so popular, we've had to add a second screening to it.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back and we're going to talk about some of the local films that are in it this year, and then go into some of the categories: documentary, music, film. It's all great. All right, we'll take a break. Be back right after this.